Alright, introductory algebra homework day 9 starts out with some word problems that have to do with addition or subtraction of integers. Again, integers are positive and negative whole numbers. Abdul is riding in a bike race that goes through a valley and a nearby mountain range. The table gives the altitudes in feet above sea level for the 5 checkpoints in the race. Use the table to answer the questions. I'm going to move this up so we can see what the questions are. So, how much higher is checkpoint 4 than checkpoint 3? When you're finding higher or lower, you're finding the difference between the two values. Difference means you're going to subtract the two values, and when you subtract them in the order of the question. So, checkpoint 4 is 655. I'm going to subtract whatever checkpoint 3 is. So, checkpoint 3 is a negative 92. When you subtract a negative, you end up adding those two numbers together. 655 plus 92. And so, I hid my calculator. I'm going to grab my calculator. And if you do 655 plus 92, you get 747. So 747 feet higher. Just a note, since this says higher, you get a positive answer. If it says lower, you're going to get a negative answer here, but you're not going to put the negative on because of the word lower behind it. In this case, it's higher. We don't have to worry about it. Part B. The top of the hill rises 499 feet above checkpoint 2. So in this case, we're really starting at checkpoint 2, which is at negative 216, and then we're going to rise. So we're going to add 499 to that. So we have negative 216 plus 499. My signs are opposite. I end up subtracting and taking the sign of the larger one. 499 minus 216 gives me 283. It's going to be positive, so 283 feet is the altitude of the hill. I went from down here at negative 216, went up 499 from that point, and ended up at 283. The second one, the table gives a small company's profits in thousands of dollars over the last 4 quarters. A negative number indicates a loss. Use the table to answer the question. How much less profit was made in quarter 1 than in quarter 2? Again, I'm trying to find the difference between the two profits. So I'm going to subtract. Since it says less, I'm going to end up with a negative answer. Quarter 1 was at negative 25. I'm going to subtract quarter 2. Quarter 2 is at negative 351. Notice both of these have negatives in front. My rule, add and keep the sign. So I'm going to have negative 351 minus my 25 is negative 376. I add and keep the sign. Now, the negative just means that it's less or lower. So when I put my answer in, I'm just saying it's $376,000 less. I don't say negative 376 less. So make sure there on those ones. If it's negative, don't put the sign on there, because if it says less or fewer or something like that, it's indicated here in your answer. Another company's profit was $470,000 more than that shown in quarter 4. Well, in quarter 4, we were at negative 152. Negative 152. I'm doing more than that, so I'm adding 470 to that. The rule is subtract and take the sign of the larger. 470 minus 152 is 318. It's going to be positive, so $318,000 is where we're at. The third one, the table gives the temperature in Fahrenheit in 5 cities at 6 a.m. on the same day. Using the table, answer the questions. By noon, the temperature in Buffalo had risen by 11 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the temperature there at noon? So the temperature at 6 a.m. was at negative 3. We're used to that. If the temperature goes up, it rises by 11 degrees. What's the temperature going to be? Again, my rule is to subtract and take the sign of the larger. So if you take 11 minus 3, you're going to end up at positive 8 degrees. Right? If I'm at negative 3 and I go up by 11, I'm now at positive 8. How much lower was the 6 a.m. temperature in Toronto than in Santa Fe? I'm finding the difference between my two temperatures. I'm going to subtract. Toronto was at negative 16. I'm going to subtract Santa Fe's, which was at 65. Again, both of these have negative signs in front. I end up adding, or if I use my calculator, negative 16 minus 65 gives me negative 81. Now the question wants to know how much lower. It was 81 degrees lower than, not negative 81 degrees lower. So in Toronto it was negative 16, Santa Fe was positive 65. 65 compared to negative 18, I dropped by 81 degrees. That's supposed to be a 16. There we go. So 65 down to a negative 16, I dropped by 81 degrees.